Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If I look sweaty and haggard, it's because I just filmed about a dozen song and dance segments for online story time for work, so I apologize. I didn't think to film this first. Today we are talking all about my April wrap-up, aka my owls wrap-up. So I'm going to talk about all of the owls that I passed, the one that I was not successful in finishing in time, and pretty much everything I read in the month of April. They were all owls reads. I'm not one of these like super readers who can finish like 20 some books in a month. I try very hard, but I always fail. So let's get into the books. I did finish Prisoner of Azkaban at the very beginning of the month because I was not successful in finishing it in March, but that has nothing to do with the owls and I didn't start it in April, so whatever. So super quickly, I'm just going to tell you what like my goals for the owls were. I wanted to read all 12 prompts. I think I was going for Hogwarts Professor, but I wasn't totally sure. I kind of just wanted to leave my options open for August and the Newts. So those were my goals, and I read 11 out of 12 of those prompts, so I'm pretty happy with that. Not super happy, but not totally upset. So the first book I read for the owls was The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. This was for my divination owl. I randomized my TBR, and this is the book that came up. I absolutely loved this book so freaking much. I gave it 5 stars, and I was kind of super annoyed that I'd never read it before. I had wanted to read it for years and years, just because I had a weird feeling it was going to be up my alley. It totally exceeded all of my expectations. I still really want to watch the movie. I have yet to do that just because I'm not totally sure where is the best place for me to do that. So if you know, please comment below. But yes, I passed my divination owl by reading The Outsiders. If you can get your hands on this edition, I'd highly recommend it because it's like super satisfying texture-wise, and it's just like beautiful. And it has all this extra stuff and pictures. It's very cool. The next book I read was for my potions owl, which was to read a book under 150 pages. So I reread The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. I read this back when I was in college. I gave it 4 stars then, and I gave it another 4 stars this time. I think it has like 67 pages, so it only took me like an hour to read. This is fun. It's weird. The end is not very satisfying, which is probably the biggest reason I took a star off. I feel like she builds a lot of suspense and interest and intrigue, and you're like, oh my god, what the hell is going on in this house? And then you're kind of like, oh. And there's no like real answer, which like sometimes is super fun, and I like the whole like, who was lying, who was telling the truth kind of aspect, and like you never know. But sometimes, like in this case, when it's already super short, you're like, okay, because I have an issue with short stories. I don't usually love short stories. I feel like a lot of the time they're underdeveloped, and I just kind of feel like as soon as I am like in it and ready and like, okay, I get what's going on, they're done, which I didn't quite feel like that with this. I feel like Gillian Flynn really catches your attention really quickly and keeps it and holds it and gives you all these other questions in like a very short period of time. But as far as answering those questions, wasn't the best. The next book I read was for my Defense Against the Dark Arts owl, which was read a book set on the coast or at sea. So I read The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. So I had heard like really crappy things about this. A lot of people were like, this is the weakest Ruth Ware. This is the one I enjoyed the least. And I enjoyed this 10 times more than The Death of Mrs. Westaway. I have now read 3 Ruth Wares. I've read The Turn of the Key, which is hands down amazing. I kind of started at her top from what I can tell. Then I read The Death of Mrs. Westaway. I gave it 2 stars because it pissed me off so bad. The plot holes that I just, no thank you. And then I read this, and this is definitely my second favorite of the 3 that I've read. I really liked it. It's about a travel journalist who at the very beginning of the novel experiences a break-in in her apartment right before she is about to go on this cruise for work, where she's going to write an article all about this cruise ship, this very luxurious, exclusive cruise experience. The first night she's there, she meets a woman who is in the cabin right next door to hers, and then she's awoken by some noises in the middle of the night, and then the woman disappears and there's no record of this woman. And it takes off from there. Ruth Ware, a lot like Gillian Flynn, is really good at creating these slightly unlikable, kind of annoying characters that you're still rooting for, which I liked about the book. A lot of people complained that they had issues suspending their disbelief as much as this book wanted them to. I didn't have that issue. I'm pretty good at just going along for the ride a lot of the time, as long as I don't think too much about it. I think with The Death of Mrs. Westaway, I thought too much about it and then I didn't like it. This, I kind of was like, you know what? We're gonna turn off my mind. We're gonna have really low expectations. And I really liked it. And I love going into thrillers with low expectations because they always, well, not always, usually surprise me. And that's what this one did. I really enjoyed it. I liked the ending. I liked the twists. It was a damn roller coaster ride and I was loving it. So for my Transfiguration owl, which was to read a book that has shape-shifting in it, I read Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So obviously there's shapeshifters in this book. We have McGonagall, we have Victor turning into a shark, there are other people, oh, Rita Skeeter and Sirius Black. Like, there is a lot of shapeshifting in this book. And of course, it's a 5-star read. I love these illustrated editions. It kills me that I have to wait another like year and a half for the 5th one to come out. Just because they're beautiful and they really add something to the experience, especially when you've read them like 20 times, as I have. This definitely adds something new to the experience and I absolutely love them. I keep looking at it in the viewfinder because it's gorgeous. But yes, if you have not read these illustrated, I would highly recommend them. They are just absolutely beautiful. The next book I read was for my Charms owl, which was Read a Book with a White Cover, and I read Baby Teeth by Zoe Stage. Yet again, this was like a thriller, kind of. Yeah, it's a thriller, I guess. There's no mystery to it at all. It's just like suspense and like what the hell is gonna happen. I went into this having low expectations. Kayla from Books and Lala had said that she didn't like this. I read a lot of reviews that were like, I don't get the point of this. So I had quite low expectations when I was walking into this and I gave it 4 stars. I kind of really liked it. I felt horrible for this child. It's about a 7-year-old girl who is nonverbal. She refuses to talk, basically, and she hates her mom, like hates her mom, and just tries to make her life a living hell. And that's like the whole book. And I liked it. Like, I don't really know what the point of this was, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning about this like really dysfunctional, fucked up family, this mother who is just so beyond selfish and like doesn't love her child, but like blames her child for all of her shortcomings. And I'm just sitting there like, you don't think you're to blame for this? Yes, like she needs help, but like you're not helping. But yeah, 4 stars. I enjoyed this. And I passed another owl. Next up for arithmancy, it was to read a book that is outside your favorite genre. My favorite genre is mystery thriller. So for this prompt, I read The Anybody's, which is a children's fantasy novel by N.E. Body. I really liked this. This was super fun. I read this when I was probably 7 or 8. And yeah, it definitely is still very entertaining, very cute. I didn't remember it at all, so it was kind of fun to experience the plot because I had no clue what was going to happen. They have really cute illustrations that are so weird. It's about a little girl who grows up with these really boring parents of hers, and she feels like she's very unusual and things happen when she's around. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? And then one night, a man shows up and says, hey, you're my daughter and I have your son, talking to the boring people, and they swap for the summer, and she goes and lives and learns how to become an anybody, which basically is a group of people that can turn into anyone or anything that they desire. They can also hypnotize people, and they have a bunch of other powers. So she just kind of learns about that and is trying to keep away from the miser who is the villain of the story. It's super fun, super, you know, light and sweet, and I really liked it. Next up for Ancient Runes, it was to read a book with a heart on the cover. So I chose Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and because there are these tiny little hearts between Simon and Baz on her laptop. So yeah, it counts. I gave this 5 stars. I really liked it. I didn't think I would, but I also think a lot of YA that is set in high school, I'm definitely moving away from. I can no longer relate to it, which is sad. But college YA, I can still like get into and relate to and, you know, connect with a lot because I miss college like nobody's business. But yeah, no, this was super cute and fun, and I can now read Carry On, which is such a plus. But yes, yeah, if you don't know what this is about, it's about a girl who is a fangirl for a kind of Harry Potter based series about Simon and Baz, who go to this magical school and they have a rivalry, and she writes fan fiction about them that is Simon/Baz. And yeah, and like her experience in college and with living with anxiety and social anxiety. And I found it to be a pretty accurate portrayal of social anxiety in college. Though I did make a fair more friends than, what was her name? Kath. I thought it was really cute. It's kind of quirky, and it was perfect, and I enjoyed it a lot. Next up for Muggle Studies was to read a book from the perspective of a Muggle, and I chose Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. I needed to read this for school, so it just kind of worked out that was the prompt. It fit. This is a novel written in verse, which I didn't think I was ever gonna like, but I read 2 novels in verse this year, this and The Poet X, both for school, and both I've really, really loved. This basically follows a boy whose brother has just been shot, and he has grown up to accept the rules of his community, which basically are you don't cry, you don't snitch, and you seek revenge. On his way to seek revenge for his brother's death, he kind of has a surreal experience, and this follows that. It was so well done. You're in an elevator for the majority of the story, and the way that it is written, it reads really quickly because you have really short snippets of time that are occurring, and the rhythm to the poems really just match that, and it kind of has a heartbeat of its own, and it was totally beautiful. I totally understand why it's won so many awards. It was incredible. Totally recommend, 5 stars. For Herbology, the prompt was to read a book that starts with the letter M, so I read The Martian by Andy Weir. I really enjoyed this. This was a 4-star for me. I don't think I loved it quite as much as a lot of people. I really liked the humor involved. I really liked the plot. I liked so much. I did get kind of bored with the science and the math. Like, it makes me sound stupid, but like, sorry. It was a really good book. It just that little element didn't sit super well with me. I found myself like trying to understand the science, and I would reread passages a lot, and then it was kind of just like, you know what? We're gonna accept what they're saying and move on. But I really did like this, and I'm happy I finally frickin' read it. Then for History of Magic, the prompt was to read a book with witches and wizards in it. So I read The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe because White Witch. I hadn't read this since I was in elementary school, and I really enjoyed it. It is exactly as I remembered it. And the movie did a really good job because pretty much it was like watching the movie in my head. I knew most of the plot going in. I hadn't forgotten much of this. It's a very memorable story for sure. And I just had a lot of fun reading this. It took me like 2 hours, and it was really great. And the last owl I was able to pass was Care of Magical Creatures, and the prompt for that was to read a book with a beak on the cover, or an animal with a beak on the cover. So I read Charlotte's Web by E.B. White because we have a little goose? Yeah, it's a goose on the cover. Yet again, I haven't read this in so long, but it was just as beautiful as I remember it. It was really, really weird because I read this in a couple hours, and this used to take me like weeks to read. Well, I don't really know how long, but I learned to read on this book. I have distinct memories of sitting in 2nd grade, having it read to me. I have the memory of learning to read, and my mom and I would pass the book back and forth, and she would read a page and then I would read a page. So this is a super nostalgic read for me, and I'm super happy I was able to reread it because it was just as lovely as I remember it. So those are the 11 owls I was able to complete. The only one I wasn't able to complete was Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This was my astronomy owl. I was reading this solely at night, and this was not a good pick to read solely at night because I'm gonna be honest, this took me forever to get into and forever to read in general. Classics just don't click that well with me, and I should have just tried to read this during the day and pick something else for my astronomy owl, because while this was fine, I did not finish it in the month of April. So that is my April wrap-up slash owls wrap-up. I'm super excited and proud for how much I was able to read this month as far as the owls go. I definitely will have pick of the pack for the Newts in August. I'm thinking I'm gonna go for Hogwarts Professor. Last year I went for Librarian, did great in the owls, and then sucked in the Newts. So fingers crossed August is a good reading month as well, just to get some redemption in here. But thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all the normal stuff, and I'll see you guys again super soon. Bye.